So I've just arrived to Griffith Park in Los Angeles, California, and today we're going to check out the Carolwood barn, which was moved from Walt Disney's property years ago to this spot, and it's actually right beside the LA Live steamers, so we might run into some of our friends there as well. So this is going to be fun. Let's go. What is your name?
Oh, Christian.
I'm Lisa.
Nice.
So nice to meet you, Christian. And I'm excited to be here. I've never been in the Carolwood barn before. Can you tell me about it and what you have in here?
Of course. It's a birthplace of Imagineer before Disneyland.
Wow, okay. And what can you show me on the other side of the barn? I haven't been over there yet. What have we got? Oh, it looks like different scale model trains.
Yeah.
Whoa. Oh, this is great. It shows you every single scale.
Yep. In 1896, they first did the scale model trains such as S gauge.
Wow, okay. For anyone who needed a visual of different gauges, this does a good job.
Until 1900, they did the O gauge, including a Lionel company for 3 lines.
Yes. Thank you for explaining that, giving us this history.
Of course, anytime.
Do you have any model trains at home?
Oh yeah, I still collect HO scale, just like this one.
Uh-huh.
It was first produced in early 1920s.
Wow.
And until 4 decades later, around 1962, N gauge has been produced, such it stands for as 9mm.
Pretty much. So I'm going to quickly get some shots of all of this.
This is based on Nature's Wonderland from 1960.
I'm Lisa.
Hi, Lisa.
Nice to meet you, Larry. I hear that you are the historian here.
Oh, yeah. I'm Larry Boon. I'm the superintendent here out at the Walt Disney Barn here in Griffith Park. And we started our organization, unofficially in 1999. This barn was moved from the Carolwood estate, where Walt Disney lived, up on Carolwood Drive, which is where this name is deriving from. And at that time, an organization was formed called the Carolwood Society. And actually back then called the Carolwood Pacific Historical Society, but it's changed to the Carolwood Society. That's a membership organization. So we're the Carolwood Foundation, formed in 2005. We're a nonprofit. And we're an all-volunteer organization out here. The Disney Barn was moved from the property and reconstructed here in Griffith Park in 1999. And so we come out the third Sunday of the month and open up the barn and the other artifacts out here for the public. And we have the Disney Barn, and we have a souvenir stand. We have a original passenger coach from the Santa Fe and Disneyland Railroad back in 1955. It's an original car from Disneyland. So that's on display with a special walkthrough in the back of the car that has all kinds of wonderful artifacts about Disney and Walt and Disneyland and all kinds of fun stuff. And we have over to the side, we have a little train depot, a yellow depot that belonged to Ollie Johnston. And it's important because Ollie Johnston was one of the people that really inspired Walt Disney to get going in the model train hobby, the backyard model train hobby.
Can you tell me about what is in the barn?
It keeps evolving now. We are sort of changing the whole thing. It was all full of memorabilia from all of Walt's friends that were involved in trains. Walt's progression from his childhood home in Marceline, Missouri, to his interest in trains, and then the eventual building of his backyard railroad, which he called the Carolwood Pacific Railroad because it was on Carolwood Drive. So it's an 1.5-inch scale train that you could ride on. Had about 2,615 feet of track, and he could go all around his yard and pull people on Sunday afternoons. It was train day, and he would have people over, all kinds of people over, neighbors, friends from the studio, friends of friends from the studio, and what started out as a small backyard endeavor for fun for a few people turned into sometimes literally hundreds of people showing up on a Sunday. So Walt ran that, had the first steam up in May 7th of 1950, and ran it for about 2 3/4 years, and then decided there were just too many people, too many riders. It was just getting too cumbersome with too many people for the safety issues, and boxed it up, sent it back for storage, and it was in storage pretty much ever since until we put it on display, part of it here at the barn, and most of the trains on display in San Francisco at the Walt Disney Family Museum. Walt had lots of influence over the years. You know, he started off in Missouri when he was 4 years old, and his uncle was actually an engineer on the train that ran by nearby their farm. And if Walt stood outside and kind of waved, his uncle, if we would see him, he'd blow the whistle at Walt. So Walt's first job was as with a thing called a news butch, where he got a nice uniform, he'd ride on the train, and he would sell magazines and gum and candy and newspapers and things to the passengers and get to ride all over the place and had a wonderful time. He didn't make a lot of money, but he was having a great time traveling around and seeing the sights, seeing the country. So he got involved with the studio. He was very, very busy, didn't have a lot of time for a lot of things, a lot of hobbies, but finally in 1948, he got himself a Lionel train in a little office next to his main office at the studio. And then some of his friends were encouraging him about getting more interested in trains. One of them was Ollie Johnston, who had a backyard live steam railroad of his own in 1-inch scale. And so Walt went over to Ollie's house a few times and saw that train and was really, really enthused about that. Another animator at the studio, Ward Kimball, and both Ward Kimball and Ollie Johnston were part of a team called Walt's 9 Old Men, his directing animators. Anyway, Ward Kimball, and I have to usually say this twice, Ward Kimball had a full-size train running in his yard, if you can imagine this. He only had about 4 acres, but he had 800 feet of track, 650 linear feet, and he would steam up. He had 2 different steam locomotives. He'd steam up, go to the front yard, throw it in reverse, and come back.
And these are the trains named after his daughters that you can see at the Southern California Railroad.
Chloe is Yama, Nevada, was because it was from the Nevada State Railroad.
Yeah.
And so these were a lot of the big influences, and Walt's other friends, Dave Rose and what's Jackson's first name? They were big influences on this too. But really the main one that pushed Walt over was seeing Ollie Johnston's track. So Walt decided to build his. Walt had to sell his home in Los Feliz, look for a bigger, better property that could outfit his railroads.
This is the Holmby Hills.
This would be the Holmby Hills Hold on Carolwood Drive, and big enough for his wife Lillian's gardens. And so they found this place at 455 North Carolwood Drive and started grading and excavating and plans for a new house and plans for the railroad. And by May of 1950, he was operating his Carolwood Pacific Railroad.
Is the house in Los Feliz that he used to live in still there? I know
Yes,
the other one is.
It's on a street called Woking Way, Woking, Woking Way or Walking Way, some people pronounce it. That is still there, and they actually have events there now. So you can go into that house. Walt had other houses in LA too. So in the early days, Walt Disney's oldest daughter, Diane, she married Ron Miller and became Diane Miller. They had 7 kids, and Diane was a very big promoter of her father and her father's work. She put a lot into the Walt Disney Concert Hall. She was responsible for the Walt Disney Family Museum in San Francisco at the Presidio, and was very instrumental in getting the Disney barn moved here to Griffith Park. And one of her kids, Joanna Miller, is on our board of directors.
Excellent. And what kinds of events do you have here throughout the year?
Well, every third Sunday we're open for the public, and that's our main event. We host tours for the Walt Disney Company. They're part of the Adventures by Disney tours. Those are usually on Mondays, and they're private. We do on Saturdays. We do a number of events, many of them for the live steamers, for their steam up parties and some of their other events. A couple private events, retirement parties, birthday parties for the Disney studios and things. Those are usually on weekends, usually on Saturdays. This is a city park. This is the Griffith Park, part of Los Angeles City. And they got the permits for that, the permission from the live steamers. And it was reconstructed on the property here, a little bit stronger than the original structure, but using about 80% of the original materials with a new fireproof roof. Because we don't want any fires here in Griffith Park. And if we have a fire, we don't want the barn to burn down, of course. So it's very neat inside. I mean, there's a lot of things there's a shaving mirror and a shaving mug and a shaving brush in there that belonged to Walt that he actually used. He would come down to the barn and start working on his trains and projects in the barn, especially on Sundays. And he would actually change his clothes and shave in the barn right before the public, or his guests would arrive. So there's a lot of original artifacts in there too, from the days when Walt was operating his trains.
So why are you here? Why are you involved in all this? Why do you give your time on the weekends?
Well, I've always been interested, I guess as a kid, interested in Disneyland, and then knowing some of the backstories about how it came about, that Walt and his brother Roy, who we don't hear about nearly as much, but it took both of them to get Disneyland built. And so I got interested in the studio and things like that. And then we haven't mentioned Michael Broggie, but Michael Broggie was very interested in Walt Disney and his trains. And Michael wrote a book, The Walt Disney Railroad Story, which is an award-winning book. And Michael was instrumental helping Diane Miller getting the barn out here. So Michael and some of his people were out here volunteering to be docents here in the barn in the early days in '99. And finally he formed the Carolwood Foundation as a nonprofit in 2005. And so I started in 2008, and just like the people, like the atmosphere, we're in the middle of a beautiful park with beautiful trees, and we've got trains, and we've got Disney, and we've just got a lot of fun stuff.
You make Train Talk with Lisa possible by clicking on the membership tab to become a member, or by clicking on that cute little heart-shaped thank you button. And when you like and you share this episode with others. And your thoughtful comments, personal stories, and the history you share here is such an important part of this series. Thank you for being a part of the Train Talk with Lisa community, and I will see you very soon.